It's the midweek edition of Business Morning here on Channels Television. 55 minutes of current and relevant conversations. That's what we present to you at this time. I'm Amy John McQuarrie. We'll get right into it, beginning with what's happening with the global oil now. Prices rose on Wednesday, firming its ground near a 10-month peak reached during trading a day earlier as the market balanced supply concerns over Libya output and OPEC Plus cuts with global macroeconomic headwinds. The international benchmark Brent futures rose 17 cents, that's about 0.2%, to $92.23 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude climbed 21 cents, also 0.2%, to $89.05 a barrel. Both benchmarks surged nearly 2% on Tuesday to close at their highest level since November 2022. The news of OPEC member Libya shutting 4 of its eastern oil export terminals due to a deadly storm also lent support to oil prices. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, stuck to its forecast for robust growth in global oil demand in 2023 and 2024, citing signs that major economies are faring better than expected despite headwinds such as high interest rates and elevated inflation. The EIA, meanwhile, said that global oil inventories were expected to fall by almost 500,000 barrels per day in the second half of 2023, causing oil prices to rise, with Brent averaging $93 a barrel in the fourth quarter. And global oil's grain now. Chicago soybeans lost more ground on Wednesday, trading close to a 3-week low it hit in the last session, while corn eased, with both markets under pressure after a U.S. government report showed crops suffered less than expected damage. Wheat futures eased after closing higher on Tuesday on tightening global supplies. The most active soybean contracts on the Chicago Board of Trade lost 0.2% to $13.43 for half of a bushel. That's not far from a 3-week low of $13.40 for 3/4 of a bushel that it hit on Tuesday. Corn gave up 0.1% to $4.76 for a bushel after hitting $4.74 on Tuesday, equaling last month's 32-month low, while wheat fell 0.3% to $5.86 for a bushel. The U.S. Agriculture Department, in its monthly World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates report, project a U.S. soybean harvest of 4.146 billion bushels, an average yield of 50.1 bushels an acre. For corn, the USDA lifted its forecast for U.S. production to 15.134 billion bushels. That's the second biggest U.S. harvest on record, with average yields of 173.8 bushels an acre. And we do a little bit of corporate news from here in Nigeria now. Listed as a Tier 1 financial institution in the country, United Bank for Africa, that's UBA PLC, has released its financial performance result for the first half of this year. That's for June 30th, 2023. Highlights of some of its audited financial reports shows that the bank gross earnings rose 164% against last year's figure to 981.78 billion naira, while its profit after tax soared 371% to 404 billion naira. At the same time, the bank's total assets rose above the 15 trillion naira mark, leaping 41.7% from 10.86% trillion naira last year. Customer deposits of 11.14 trillion naira indicate a growth of 42.4%. Meanwhile, the bank group's board has approved an interim dividend of 50 kobo per share, which represents over 150% increase over the prior year. Nigerian residents in the United Arab Emirates have expressed cautious optimism in the wake of the presidential announcement that the UAE visa ban has been lifted and flight operations by UAE national carriers will resume. Eyebrows have been raised concerning the news, seeing as there's yet to be any confirmation from the UAE government. In this report, our correspondent Mayo Adegoke captures the voices of residents and their thoughts on the new development all the way from Dubai.
Positive reactions have been trailing the announcement by presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngalale that the year-long UAE visa ban on Nigerian passport holders has been lifted. For Nigerians living in the UAE, this news brings renewed hope that their lives as residents in the country would soon return to normal.
So when the news came out like, ban officially lifted, flights can resume immediately, we're like, what? I mean, it was good news, honestly. It was exciting. Like, in fact, I was one of the people that like, quickly, congratulations to all Nigerians in UAE.
Although the announcement has sparked excitement in the resident community, there's an air of caution about, seen as communication from the UAE government makes no reference to the visa ban or flight resumption.
It begs for caution, like, let's jubilate. Like, we can see that there is a bit of progress here, but let's just be a bit cautious. Let's not like to jump too much to wait for the official announcement from the UAE government. So honestly, it's fingers crossed. We are hopeful that they're going to make the announcement so that, we can all heave a sigh of relief.
The prolonged visa ban has had significant implications for business and trade between both countries. Many Nigerian entrepreneurs and investors have been directly affected by the impasse.
Obviously, the ban really did cause a lot of constraints and a lot of challenges in the market because the trade flow wasn't there anymore, and it was very challenging for us to get our clientele that we usually had from Nigeria.
Meanwhile, it's important to note that the UAE had never officially announced the visa ban in the first place, making this development somewhat unusual.
The UAE will never come out to say outrightly there was a ban. And technically, if you look at it from their own side, you'll discover that it was just they used some form of technicality because a lot of persons have been coming in for some special events. Families, have been allowed into some families have been allowed into UAE. So was there an outright ban from United Arab Emirates?
As we await the possibility of an official confirmation from the UAE authorities or evidence of the announced decision on both the visa ban and resumption of flights by Emirates and Etihad Airlines, it's clear that this development holds great significance for both nations. Nigerians in the UAE are cautiously optimistic, and businesses are hopeful for the resurgence of trade ties. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadigoke for Channels Television News.
Yeah, we're following up on that to see if we can clear the air for our Dubai residents. That cautious optimism can be changed. And we have joining us, the same person who was mentioned, who shared the statement from the president, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Mr. Ajuri Ngalale, just back from that meeting at the UAE. Joins us from our Abuja studio. Good to have you, Mr. Ngalale. Good morning.
Good morning to you, my dear sister, and good morning to all of our viewers.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were able to catch a part, at least, of that report. Nigerian residents in Dubai are still, a bit uncertain about all of it. But you were there during the conversation with the president and the leadership of the UAE, so I'm sure you can give us what is sure at this time and what we could expect from this agreement and the lifting of ban of the ban on the visa.
Indeed, it is pertinent to note that in that report it was rightly and accurately captured, and I don't think I've seen it really reported that way anywhere else, which is that when the visa ban was established in the first place, there was no official announcement from the authorities of the UAE. I think that part has been lost in the conversation concerning the lifting of the ban with respect to the UAE's official position on that. But let me also say that there were a few things that were achieved by the visit of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the President of the United Arab Emirates. One was, of course, the full normalization and reset of bilateral relations between the two important countries. But moreover, we have seen a kind of efficiency and determination on the part of President Tinubu to ensure that we don't just settle for a reset to status quo, but that we look to deepen and enrich that relationship in the mutually beneficial interests of both nations, which is why large-scale investments are being negotiated at the level of cabinet members having negotiations right now to ensure that the finer details of all aspects of this comprehensive agreement struck between the two heads of state are put down on paper, signed and effected before we begin to get into the nitty-gritty publicly concerning the details of that agreement, which will cut across multiple sectors of the Nigerian economy. Yes, we understand that there is outsized interest in the topic of the visa ban and the removal of that ban. We understand the level of interest, but we also want to appreciate that, and we want Nigerians to appreciate that this is much more wide-ranging, much more impactful in terms of developing multiple sectors of the Nigerian economy, and much more I think impactful on the day-to-day operations of MSMEs across our beautiful country than what Nigerians can appreciate right now, with the details currently mostly being withheld. But very soon, as these negotiations are ongoing, just to essentially formalize what has already been agreed at the top levels of the topmost levels of authority between the two countries, those details will come out, and I think at that point the cautious optimism, as the report cited, can now turn into, by the grace of God, full-scale jubilation.
Yeah, I will certainly be looking forward to that, and we trust you to always share that. Another trip that the president made was the Indian one, and we had that rousing $14 billion investment promise coming from the private sector in India. Obviously, a lot of Nigerians have been happy about it, but again, there's a need for details and the need for timelines, because, I mean, we've had occasions where celebrations are given because of news items like this, but we don't really feel the impact or the implementation. Do we have timelines, the sectors? I know you've shared the sectors, but I mean, you could share it again here, and especially the timeline, so we know if we are missing out at any point in time.
Great question, and obviously, given the long decades worth of history of unimplemented projects and partnerships, it's normal for Nigerians to be curious about the question of implementation, which is why His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, ever the pragmatist, a very practical person, says, look, we don't just want pledges from our investors. We want to know exactly what the encumbrances are between you, making this pledge and you establishing that facility, that industry, that factory on the ground in the country, creating jobs for Nigerians, paying taxes to subnational governments, to the federal government. What is in your way? I want you to tell me. That was the president's position. So what he did was he sat one-on-one. I was privileged to be in the room as he sat one-on-one with many of these investors, and essentially requested from them what their issues were, whether it be regulatory, whether it be fiscal, whether it be whatever it may have been. What is that encumbrance that I, as president, can now step in to personally intervene and liaise, or at least create the contact between you and the relevant minister of defense, minister of trade and investment, minister of finance, whoever it is that we need to remove that encumbrance. They're going to be here in this room, and we're going to have this conversation so that you can hit the ground running, bring your money, because their money is ready. It's not, these investors, I want to be clear about this. these are not investors who are coming with briefcase companies. When I say briefcase companies, people who have registered a company somewhere and they make all sorts of promises about what they can and can't deliver. But when you look at their actual asset portfolio, you're not going to really see much there. We're talking about companies that have asset valuations to the tune of $5 billion and far beyond that. In fact, one of the companies that sat down with Mr. President had an asset valuation, total asset portfolio of over 100 billion US dollars. These are the level of investors that Mr. President sat down with. So their issue is not about sourcing for funds. Their issue is about making sure that some of the environmental concerns within Nigeria is addressed with them directly with the personal intervention of the president. And he did that. So that goes to the issue of implementation. Because when you're sitting down with the president and he's telling you, okay, oh, this is your problem? Okay, done. Okay, this is your problem? Done. He's a businessman, the first president who is a businessman who speaks the language of investors, speaks the language of business people, knows where the shoe is pinching the foot, and is saying, look, we are going to ensure that we create the space for you to be successful, but also for the Nigerian economy and Nigerian MSMEs to be successful in collaboration with the industry that you're bringing into the country. So that really was a major part of how the president is going to ensure that these are implemented. Secondly, the president had also, in exchange for his intervention, he had secured the agreement of the various investors. And I'm going to go one by one in a moment to describe some of the investments. But he essentially discussed with them, ensured that as they've agreed in India now, he says within 30 days, I want each of you to meet me in Abuja. You will meet me in my office, and we will ensure that every stakeholder that needs to be at the table to ensure that your money immediately comes into the country and you begin construction on the establishment of your various industries and facilities, that begins within the next 30 to 45 days. The president spoke with urgency. He said, do not procrastinate. Tell me what your problems are. I will solve your problems. Bring your money and let's do business. And that is why the president is ensuring. That is how he's ensuring that these projects and these investments are truly made for the benefit of the Nigerian economy, for new jobs to be created, and for new tax revenues to be paid to the subnational and federal governments of Nigeria. So now, with that said, if I may, very quickly, what are the investments? One of them was from Indorama, a well-known petrochemical producer and fertilizer producer, cited in my own local government of LMA local government area of River State. In effect, what they said was they went to the president and they said, sir, we're having this problem, this bottleneck, this encumbrance. The president personally called the NNPCL CEO Malamele Kyari into his office and said, Mele, I'm giving you 21 days to solve this problem. No excuses. Within 14 days, that bottleneck that was confronting a major new investment from Indorama was crushed. It was dealt with. It was resolved. As a result of that, Indorama has now pledged a nearly $8 billion US dollar investment to expand their petrochemical and fertilizer production facility within the country. We separately, from the $8 billion from Indorama, we got $3 billion from Naveen Jindal, the chairman of Jindal Steel and Power Company Limited, to establish a new steel production facility in the country that is going to help us, in addition to what we're doing with Ajeokuta, help us to provide locally produced steel to the extent that we can fulfill our domestic requirements that will actually support the industrialization and support, the steel required by several Nigerian MSMEs and medium and large scale industries so that we can really take, our economic development to the next level. The third one is in energy. The president was able to strike an agreement with Skipper Seal Power Company Limited for a $1.6 billion agreement that will see to the establishment of 20 100 megawatt solar powered power plants across states of northern Nigeria, across I believe all states of northern Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to have massive impact when you talk about industrialization across the country, when you talk about the ability to power industry, the ability to add to that quantum of power generation in the country to further allow for industries to take off nationwide. These are just some of the investments. I haven't even gotten into defense.
Yeah, well, very interesting, and thank you for stopping there. But I think what really stands out from all you have said, of course, those sectors are very important that drive industrialization and economic productivity. But I mean, that timeline of between 30 and 45 days, at least, keeps Nigerians looking out to say, okay, something will begin at least within this period. And we thank you so much for providing that information. I know you just got back, you need to catch some rest. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning, Mr. Gilali.
Thank you very much. There's no rest for the weary. I'm going to the State House now. Have a nice day.
You too. All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, we started this conversation yesterday, the issue of rebasing the Naira. Is it a possibility, even though the CBN has said they do not have that in their horizon now, but we'll delve into it after the break. To stay with us. Welcome back to Watching Business Morning here on Channels Television. Well, the issue of redominating the Naira or rebasing it, we understand it to be knocking out two or dropping 2 zeros from the currency or moving into 2 decimal places to the left, which will consequently revive coins back to the circulation. In practical terms, what it means at this time, officially, a dollar goes for about 775 Naira. So by the time you move 2 decimal points backwards, a dollar will be 7 Naira, 75 kobo. So that's where you have that reintroduction of coins back into the spending space of Nigeria. So while this sounds really nice, we can look at the historic path and see a country like Ghana, which had done this, I think, about 2005 or so, 2015. And yet they're still where they are today. In Turkey, it was done in 2005. In Turkey's case, 6 zeros were shed there. But so it will have a lot of consequences, obviously. Reintroduction of coins means minting more new currency into the country. But will this solve our problem? Did it solve the problem for Turkey and Ghana? The inflation is still really high at this time, and they still have to be hiking their interest rate to meet up with the demand, So maybe Nigeria will be different. Well, let's find out the pros and cons of redenominating the Naira with Dr. Rashid Olajide Alao. He's a lecturer at the Department of Economics, University of Abuja. Dr. Alao, good morning. Thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
So,
nice to be here.
Good to have you. So, but I'm just wondering in my head, why are we having this conversation now? It seems to be everywhere. The issue of rebasing or redenominating the Naira.
The denomination of Nigeria currency is long overdue. Since 2007, since August 2007, when the CBN governor, the former CBN governor, Professor Charles Ludo, made the move in 2007, but this was abortive. So Nigeria currency needs to be denominated. That is, we need to knock out 2 zeros. So move 2 zeros from our currency. That means 1,000 Naira will come down to 10 Naira, 500 Naira will come to 5 Naira, 200 Naira will come to 2 Naira, 100 Naira will come to 1 Naira. Then 50 Naira, 20 Naira, 10 Naira, so and others will return back to coins. In every circulation, we always have 2 denominations. We have notes and coins. So in the developed world, some have ratio of 100. No, they have ratio of 90 to 10 ratio. Some have 95% note to coins ratio. Some have 95 to 5. But in Nigeria, we have 100% ratio 0, no coins in circulation. So that means we have to denominate our currency so that the coins will come back to circulation. That is first aspect.
Okay.
Now, that's the first aspect. Now, that means 10 Naira will be the highest note in the country. So after the denomination, CBN need to reintroduce 20 Naira, they will take value of 2,000. CBN also needs to introduce new 15 Naira to take place of 5,000 and 100 Naira to take place of 10,000. So 100 Naira will be the highest currency in Nigeria.
But why do we need
is that published by the National newspaper?
Is that what we need at this time? I mean, why? Because it's going to cost the country to start minting new currency and all of that. We are not. I don't think we're done with the the redesigning of the Naira. Well, that case is still there. December is coming close. So why do we need to disrupt at this time? What benefit is it?
No. The reserve currency took effect December 15 last year, 2022. Before they started redesigning, I have a publication published by Tribune that federal government should stop redesigning currency. We don't need what we don't need it. We don't need to design any currency. Let's redenominate currency. Let's redenominate our currency so that we can have coins back to circulation. So it was done then by poverty of poor economies. So they don't need it. They don't need, and this is the best time for us. And President Tinubu, this is the beginning of the president's administration. We need the new money for this new administration. And I'm very sure President will listen to this program. And I'm very sure he will do something on it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, what benefit is it just for us to have coins? I mean, does it solve our inflation problem? Does it add any value to the Naira in the real sense? I mean, what's the essence?
Not only coins benefits. It will give us efficient pricing. For example, now in Abuja here, petrol is sold for 617 naira. After redenomination, petrol the price will go back to 6 naira 15 kobo. It will aid pricing efficiency. That is one. It will also aid payments at ATMs. Payments for ATMs. Now, if you want to withdraw let's say 100,000 naira at ATM, you just need 1,000 naira, and you take value of 100,000 naira. So it's more efficient. Even our mothers, our market women, they have the value. They have a revalued currency, a revalued money. I remember vividly when I was in primary school at Anzaldin Primary School, now it is 1 and 2, Modeke in Oyo State. So I spent coins throughout my primary school. When I actually go Modeke Grammar School, I spent coins throughout. When I was in secondary school, in Repo Grammar School, I spent coins throughout. We had coins in Nigeria. We had Nigeria coins. I've traveled far and wide. I spent coins in London. I spent coins in Germany. I spent coins in France. I spent coins in Switzerland. I spent coins in Turkey. I spent coins in Cyprus. Where are the Nigeria coins? I think something must be done. Something must be done so that we can have a new money for this government. And I believe for the beginning of this government, and I'm very sure Mr. President will do something about it.
All right, Dr. Alao, thank you so much for your perspective. Yeah. Nigeria needs coins. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's take a break. And now when we come back, we're going to effects. Well, you're welcome back. It's Apex time now. Let's give you some numbers, a summary of trading for the last trading week. Brought a mixed performance across key indicators. Turnover rose by 34.31%, closing the week at 4.58 billion naira from 3.41 billion naira. Number of volumes traded was also up 19.73%. Number of deals traded was up 28.03%, closing at 113 from 157 in the last trading week. The AFEX Commodity Index witnessed an increase of 9.81%, while the AFEX Export Index maintained at 229.25. The volume of contracts traded, we saw increase in volume across soybean, paddy rice, and cashew. Now let's look at the price of those individual crops for the week ended. I will start with the sesame, cocoa, ginger, wheat, and sorghum. These crops maintained their prices, 1,247, and none of that was just unchanged. Looking at other commodities witnessed there, we saw mixed performance also. We see maize right there. It was up 21.93% at 504 Naira 81 kobo for a kilogram of maize at the FX, and cashew nuts was also up 5.47%. That's about 27 Naira 99 kobo, and closed at 540 Naira 17 kobo for the week. We see paddy rice there in the red, 0.87%, down 456 Naira 13 kobo for a kilogram of paddy rice for the week ended. And then also we see soybeans there in the green, 2.46% up at 368 Naira 55 kobo at the close of trade. That's cashew nut. We have that already. And well, if you want more information, those crops mentioned earlier, that the prices have remained unchanged, sorghums, cocoa, and all that. They remained unchanged for the week. So if you don't want more information, FX will always tell you to go to their website, follow them on their handles of social media, and get every information that you need. But it's not over with AFEX now. Joining us virtually, need to talk more about what they're doing this time, about they're assessing the role of commodity market in the issue of food supply and food security. We have Friday Okori, is an analyst, financial market with AFEX. Hi, Friday. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you. So I guess everybody has a role to play when we talk about food security, not just in Nigeria, globally. But what's the role of commodity markets? And they seem to be getting popular now. People like you, or companies like you, AFEX, we know that you're collaborating with Ghana Commodities Exchange. Also, of course, we have our own back here in Nigeria. How exactly are they contributing to the issue of food security?
All right, thank you for that question. So traditionally, farmers face challenges across access to resources to boost production, storage, and markets. For example, during harvest, inadequate proper storage facilities would always lead to post-harvest losses. This post-harvest loss, coupled with lack of access to markets, would create shortage of food supply to match the ever-increasing demand for these food products. This eventually leads to food insecurity. The commodities market has been able to bridge this gap by providing resources to the various stakeholders in the agricultural ecosystem to boost capacity to match demand and supply. Through the provision of infrastructure, commodities market has been able to connect farmers to the warehouse, thus reducing post-harvest losses. Also, by connecting farmers to the formal markets, we have been able to, the commodities market now has been able to sophisticate the value chain, which usually starts from farming, cultivating, processing, and consumption. The commodities market has ensured a seamless flow of all this process. Lastly, the commodities market has been able to provide capital in the form of credit facilities and inputs to the various stakeholders in the value chain to ensure that there is a robust system to match to ensure stable food supply.
Yeah, so of course everybody's talking about high tech now, AI, technology, digitalization, and all of that. Have we seen situations where these new terms and the facilities are being, inculcated into the issue of food security?
Yes. So technology has in the commodities market has created room for more people to participate in the commodities market, and it has also increased transparency. Technology has made it possible for people to have access to data, to historic prices, then for them to use that data to place trade. Thus, it reduces their chances of risks in the commodities market. In AFEX Commodities Exchange, we have two technology-enabled platforms, COMEX and the Workbench. The COMEX is a trading platform that allows investors, retail investors, institutional investors to be able to place trade themselves instead of calling a broker or calling anybody, waiting for a broker to help you place your trade. You have the ability to place your trade And also with COMEX platform, with COMEX app, you can also monitor your portfolio, the performance of your portfolio, and you could also see historical prices of these commodities. The workbench is an inventory management system that basically tracks the activities of farmers and aggregators in the ecosystem.
What about regulators, financial institutions? How active are they, in contributing positively to this?
Okay, so we have various financial institutions like capital market operators in the market, and our regulator is the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Our regulator, SEC, functions by providing robust regulatory frameworks and also to ensure risk management policies. While the various capital market operators, these financial institutions, they participate to increase market participation and also to deepen the market. All these are done to ensure that we can have a robust system to provide food supply in the country.
Thank you so much, Friday Okori, analyst, financial market with AFEX.
Thank you for having me.
Let's take a breather. We'll be back to head to the markets. From one market to the other, from the AFEX Commodities Exchange to the NGX. Let's see how markets closed yesterday. Among other things, there you can see the number there that it did not close positive, and it's been that for a couple of days now, but doesn't mean that the market is generally around the negative sentiment. So the All-Share Index dropped 0.80%. Equity is at 36 now, 36.5, and MTN Nigeria. Can we see the next slide? There you have it, the volume. All these were in the green yesterday. Obviously, a whole lot of, can you imagine that deals was more than 10,000, at the close of trade. A lot of profit taking going on in the market at this time. Expected cycle, I guess, with, the heights that we climbed last week. It's time for investors to pamper themselves a bit. And we would think that, it's the school fees period, so investors are probably looking for every way to fund, those domestic needs. And that's one of the reasons why we'll see there. But a lot of profit taking going on in the market right there. MTN Nigeria led that yesterday. It was down 1.5%. Dangote Sugar, we know, has been doing well since the announcement of Dangote Sugar, Dangote Rice and NASCON coming together to form Dangote Food. Well, yesterday it was down 10%. So, of course, we can expect that the consumer goods counter will be down. I've dragged it down 1.72%. And we look at insurance, also down. Insurance that seems to be getting some attention at this time. Oil and gas really needs some attention one way or the other. The issue of it looking gray doesn't seem very pleasing. And then our favorite, the most liquid counter, that's banking, was down yesterday. Also expected to feel the impact of profit taking. Now let's see what's right there. That's a top trade for yesterday. See the banking, the fugas, they always, when they move, the market moves along with them. And Transcorp also got top trades of 87.82 million. That's what we have. Now let's go to the other market. The OMO, that's the open market, had 16 deals yesterday. October 3rd, 2023. This is a security that is expiring just next month. So, of course, we expect a lot of activity, the short-term ones. And then December, those are the ones that are getting attention at this time. We also say that the overnight lending rate expanded yesterday, 197 basis points to 22.8 following the settlement for yesterday's bond. Some settlement out there. And let's have Ifeoma Onyejepe join us now to tell us some other activities at the market beyond the numbers. Hi, Ifeoma. Good morning.
Good morning, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So we see the those bonds that are maturing in a couple of months. Obviously, we'll get more attention. But what else happened in the market yesterday? We know there was settlement also for the FGM bond.
Yeah, so the settlement for the bond is actually today. The bond auction was on Monday. But this week generally has been marked by cautious trading since the central bank industry LDR and CRR debits from last week dampened the amount of liquidity available for investment and trading purposes. From the beginning of this month, if you have noticed, we've seen an industry average of about 140 billion debits. And this has reflected in many banks consistently in the CBN standing lending facility window to the tune of over 300 billion. Today, it actually stands at 370 billion. Like you rightly said, there was an auction on Monday and settlement today, and dampened liquidity levels was evident in total subscription amounts of 290.99 billion compared to 322.46 billion at the August auction. And then total sales, inclusive of non-competitive sales, to that 316.49 compared to a total of 230.36 billion. The expectation is there's also an NCB auction today where 152.20 is on offer, and the expectation is for a dampened subscription level. Banks are not allowed to bid on auction days if they are at the SLF window or they'll face penalties. So it's expected that with over 370 billion in the SLF as of yesterday, there will be less bidders at today's auction.
All right, so let me ask you, you are in-house there. We saw a circular from the CBN to deposit money banks, telling them to be cautious about how they are enjoying the gains of FX. And then we also saw yesterday, minimal increase in our FX reserve. These two stories, are they in any way affected the market?
Not necessarily, because they haven't really affected the fixed income market, because the fixed income market is based on domestic currency liquidity, and that has been a challenge for many financial institutions. So many players have been very cautious in their trading and investment purposes.
So do we see any movement one way or the other? Any expectation to boost liquidity or leak out some liquidity in the market anytime soon?
Yeah, so the regular thing is that we will expect at the end of the month when FAC allocation comes in. But as per movements in the market, it's expected that stop rates today go, because when the lower system liquidity relative to what is offered will assist in propelling stop rates upwards. So it's expected that today's NCB auction, the stop rates will trend upwards compared to the last one.
All right, thank you so much, Ifeoma Ejekwe, for your time. A fixed income dealer with UBA. All right. Okay, I think we do not have time to take the others, but let's go to London. Then Juliana is standing by to tell us what's going on there. Yesterday, we started on a pleasant note. Unfortunately, this morning, it's not the same. Juliana, good morning. Yesterday, we had that drop in inflation in groceries, but this morning, we're talking about the GDP contracting 0.5% and bringing the fears of recession even closer.
You're absolutely right. Good morning, Inni. It's always a mixed bag when it comes to data coming out of the UK, but pretty gloomy data from the Office for National Statistics showing that in the month of July, the British economy contracted by 0.5%. Now, I think the markets had already priced in a drop in output, but they weren't expecting it to be so high, and there are a multitude of reasons as to why this has happened. Wet weather, a series of industrial action, and of course, high interest rates. This has really knocked consumer confidence. And you're right, the fear of a recession is absolutely back. We have kind of transitioned the discussion away from inflation to recession because things are just going so poorly at the moment. A couple of weeks ago, we started having a look at the PMI data, which is great because, of course, that gives us a forensic look at what's happening in the private sector. And we saw for the first time in several months, services had dipped below that 50 benchmark rate, and services contributes about 80%. This is front-facing services, and that does include education, and it also includes health. And in the month of July, there were several days that teachers took off to strike about their paid jobs and conditions. And we also saw that in the health sector. So pretty gloomy. We have had a reaction from Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor. He, of course, being put in place as a steady pair of hands, wants to keep people confident. He says that we shouldn't look at this month-to-month decline as an overall picture because, of course, we are in September. These are July figures, so we're obviously looking back in the rearview mirror, but pretty damp. Let's use that word, Inni. Pretty damp data that we
like the weather, Juliana. But I know it's still early. It was released a couple of hours ago. But have we had reactions yet? Businesses, markets, individuals?
Yeah, lots of reactions. The FTSE all share the blue chip index is very much in the red at the moment. Typically, when the blue chip index is in the red, we can see a lift in sterling, but the British pound is also trading down against major currencies today because of the fear of recession. And of course, now the pressure is on the Bank of England. They're going to be meeting next week, Thursday, to decide on rates. Again, this time last week, Eddie, when we were talking about the Bank of England, we were suggesting that perhaps because of Andrew Bailey's interaction with policy makers in Parliament, that there would be a pause in the successive hikes we've seen. That's certainly not going to be the case because we also had labour market data yesterday showing that wage growth is outpacing inflation. And we know that if you've got more money in your pocket, you spend more, demand goes up, prices go up. So lots of issues to juggle, similarly to what we're seeing in Nigeria. But yes, certainly market reaction. But I suppose when we catch up at intraday, we'll see exactly how businesses and markets are reacting to this data from this morning.
Yeah, and I guess markets will also be reacting to the U.S. inflation, which is expected today also.
Yeah.
I know that will be a whole lot to handle, but we'll talk to you at 1:30. Thank you, Juliana. All right, now, so let's go to the other market and see what's going on there. If I know they are very dependent on U.S. data and U.S. inflation. I know. I wonder what's going to happen to you this time
what's
tomorrow.
Going to happen with Bitcoin?
Yeah,
is it going to be a sell-off or is it already priced in?
Is it already priced in? Because a lot of people are already expecting, and expecting that there'll be a pause at the reserve meeting, and then but the upper month or the upper sitting, we're not sure of what might happen. But I mean, you look green.
Yeah, it looks green.
Looks comfortable.
Yeah, it looks
even though
not so bad.
Even though 25 doesn't look so good.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
It
did try. It fell below 25,000 and recovered back by yesterday. So it's quite impressive. The bulls are trying, holding on. Easy.
Pushing really hard.
Exactly. Not easy with all the macro issues that we're having right now. The economy is there. So see, 0.46%. Bitcoin dominance sitting at 48.36%, showing that Bitcoin's dominance still quite high in the market at this point. Ethereum 0.15%. Let's look at the sentiments in the market right now. We see it's 41 points. Fear, showing that the traders are quite fearful in the market right now. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track. We see Bitcoin there holding on $25,800, 0.46% up this morning about 8 a.m. Ethereum also holding on $1,500, and we see Cardano, they're down 0.38%, 24 cents. And we see XRP losing that 50-cent level. I guess that's now a resistance point for XRP at this time. Let's bring in Mary Maswa now, financial market analyst. Hello, Mary. Great to have you.
Hi, Ladi. Good morning.
Good morning. So I remember, I think it was last year that El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender in the country. How is that working out for the economy so far?
Well, so far it's been working out pretty well, and the president, Nayib Bukele, is pretty proud of the achievements. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, they have over 2,000 Bitcoin in their reserve, and with the Bitcoin halving coming really soon, you can tell that they're going to be in a really great position in the case of the reserves. And their bonds is actually performing really well, and they're repaying their loans. In fact, it has gone from 3,200 basis points in July last year to 1,000 basis points this year. And their spread is at 720, which is quite good. And he put out a tweet showing that he was quite proud of that. And he was like, don't tell me I didn't tell you so.
Quite interesting. Definitely, we'll keep tracking that economy to see how it works out. But I see that the breaking news early this morning. We see the Emir of Qatar is meeting with President Bukele in El Salvador. Is this going to be Bitcoin related in any way?
Well, a lot of people are speculating that it could be. So maybe fingers crossed. Let's see how that happens. But what we do see in the reports is that he's going there to talk about trade relations and some sort of collaboration that Qatar can get into with El Salvador. We're not quite sure what the details of the discussion will be, but a lot of people are hoping that it will be something related to Bitcoin or maybe just to look at how Bitcoin is performing in El Salvador. But yeah, these are all speculations for now.
I guess Bitcoin investors are looking for any type of good news at this point. We're expecting the U.S. CPI data for August. How do you see that impacting Bitcoin and the crypto market today?
Well, I mean, looking at what's happening with the BlackRock ETFs, a lot of people are seeing some, interest in Bitcoin. And some speculators are saying that with all the ETFs approvals, there would be a surge in the number of people buying more Bitcoin. And with ETFs, it'll be a lot easier for some people to invest in Bitcoin that way. So yeah, this seems to be quite positive. If you recall, when the BlackRock ETF got approved, it did affect the price of Bitcoin in the upward trend. So maybe that's what we'll see in the future as well.
Right, definitely looking out for that and see how markets globally react to that US CPI data. Thank you so much, Mary Masso, financial market analyst. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
All right, let's look at the top gainers now. We'll see XLM ton 8.95% up $1.84. We see VChain. I'm not seeing VChain on the Guinness list for a while now. It's up 7.98%, 1 cent today. Bitcoin Cash also up 3.90%. And we'll see BSV $30.71, 3.81%. Let's look at the top losers this morning. I'll see ASTR as 9.22%. XLM had a big run earlier last week. I've seen some profit taken now, 11 cents, 8.42%. Nexo also on the top losers counter, down 5.66%. So, all eyes on El Salvador at this point.
Yeah.
How's the economy working ever since they made Bitcoin a legal tender? And no country has followed suit, but it's just them for now.
Well, I wanted to say perhaps in the issue of rebasing and redenomination, maybe Naira can be linked to Bitcoin.
I wonder what role Bitcoin could play in that. Quite interesting.
All right, Ladi. Well, we wanted to see you yesterday afternoon. We didn't see you, but we hope we'll see you at 1:30 today.
You definitely will see me.
Okay, great. Strong energy there. All right, thank you so much. That's it on the program for today, the midweek. But we still have 2 episodes. I wonder what we'll talk about tomorrow. Tune in at 10 a.m. and you will find out. Well, it's time to go make some money, do business now. I'll see you tomorrow. God's grace. I'm Ini John Mekwa.